Hi, I'm Bob Garrett. Hackensack University Medical Center believes that all citizens need to be informed about the important health issues that affect their daily lives. That's why we're proud to support programming produced by the Caucus Educational Corporation and their partners in public television.
This special edition of One-on-One with Steve Adubato is brought to you from the Tisch WNET studios at Lincoln Center. Funding has been provided by Caldwell College, New Jersey Manufacturers Insurance Group, auto insurance, homeowners insurance, and banking under the principle of stewardship. QualCare Inc., a local managed care company covering 750,000 New Jersey residents. And by Verizon Communications.
This is One-on-One.
That's good acting, man.
I get that a lot. I go to Atlantic City all the time, like, are you the guy? I go, no, I'm not.
This is one you can't afford to miss.
They thought that I wouldn't survive it, but I knew I would.
Hi, I'm Steve Adubato. We're coming to you from the Tisch WNET studios here at Lincoln Center. I'm here to introduce my good friend from MSNBC, Chris Jansing, host of Jansing Company, seen every day during the week from 10 to 11. She is an MSNBC anchor and correspondent with NBC Nightly News. Good to see you, Chris.
Great to be here. Thanks, Steve.
You like a little place here?
You know, I kind of am having trouble paying attention because I'm looking at your beautiful window. They're having a green market, which is so New York, right?
Right.
And it's a gorgeous day, so yeah, it's fun.
You got a great studio, too.
Yeah, not bad, right?
Not bad at all.
Not bad at 30 Rock?
Exactly. You have a great story. You have a great story about how you got to NBC. We were just talking about before you got in the air. Tell folks who, by the way, you watch Chris every day. You're up in Albany.
And I had been there for 17 years on television and before that on radio doing news. And I was on vacation, literally, and I checked my cell phone messages, and there was someone who claimed to be the assistant to the president of NBC News and said, he wants to talk to you about a job. Now, at the time, Albany was about the 50th market. People don't go from the 50th market,
TV market.
Yeah, to the network. It doesn't happen. It had never happened before at NBC. And I thought it was a joke, and it wasn't a joke. And I came to New York, and I was absolutely terrified. I went through a series of interviews with every vice president at NBC and NBC News, and they offered me my choice of several jobs. It was really astonishing. He had seen me on television. He was at a conference up in Lake George, New York.
Andy Lack.
Andy Lack, who at the time was president of NBC News, and said, well, I'm going to hire this woman. It was just like that, and it was something that just was so unexpected, and I wasn't looking for. And I had no idea what I was getting into, by the way.
And our president here at WNET, Neil Shapiro, has a little bit of a history.
Oh, yes,
NBC,
indeed,
right?
And also in Albany. So we have that
Isn't that
connection.
Something?
Yeah.
Yes, and he's a Yankee fan. I just thought I'd get that in.
Yeah.
Has no relevance to anything. Chris, because I've been with you on the show before, I see a little bit about the way you work, and I just think to myself, I mean, I love doing this, you know, but it's on tape. We're doing this. We like to look like we're live, but we're not. You do it every day, live.
Yes.
Stuff happens. Things are moving parts all the time.
Yeah.
How do you prepare? Because as I read about how you prepare, it seems that you come in way earlier than when you're supposed. I'm thinking, if I'm doing the show, what time is it again?
Yeah, well, you know, 10 o'clock, people
I'm thinking I'm coming in 9.
9:30 maybe, depending on the makeup situation.
Not
right?
you.
I get up at 4.
Because?
Because there's so much going on in the world and there's so many sources to read now. So every morning, whether it's on the way to work or I'm sitting in the makeup chair or having my breakfast, I'm reading the New York Times and the Washington Post and the LA Times and the Chicago Tribune and the Miami Herald and Politico and Real Clear Politics and the Wall Street Journal, and I could go on and on and on. There's so many great blogs out there. There's so many great websites, you know, Huffington Post and Daily Beast. And I'm going through all those sources, and I've got one ear on the Today Show and MSNBC and Morning Joe, and I'm looking at tape. And, you know, I think here's something that I learned very early on, even before I came to the network, but it's especially true now. Whoever I'm interviewing, chances are they're an expert on that. When I talk to Steve Adubato, he's going to know, he's got a PhD. He's going to know a lot more about the topic than I am. But I have to know enough to be able to keep the conversation going in an intelligent way for our viewers who are very smart, News viewers tend to be very committed, interested, and well-read people. And I want to be able to challenge them. I want to be able to ask the smart questions. And to do that, you got to do your homework.
Curious about this. At MSNBC, as the station's gotten stronger.
Yes, it has.
It really has.
We're very pleased.
And other folks in the cable industry haven't been as strong recently, and you can read about, you know who they are. Question, how have you avoided some of the ideological insanity that has gone on in the cable industry? And I noticed, because I've got a lot of good friends over at the Fox News channel and MSNBC, they were the two primarily, and CNN, you know, they're the ones who are struggling. Question, you have never gotten caught up in that.
No.
The back and forth. How have you avoided that?
Well, it's obviously a conscious choice on my decision, on my part. I mean, I'm an old school person. I was brought up through journalism where our job was to tell people the facts and let them make up their minds. And I don't have a problem with opinion journalism when it's labeled as such. I am proud to work with people like Chris Matthews and Rachel Maddow and Lawrence and Ed and the Reverend
Ed Schultz never holds back, right?
You know, but that you know where he's coming from, and they're really smart people, and they're really committed people, and they're well read. They're on the phone all the time. They're working their sources. They're coming from a particular perspective, and you can watch them and know what you're going to get is a very well-informed opinion, not just somebody, you know, going off. But for me and what we do during the day, mostly at MSNBC, is the way that traditional journalists have done it, which is, you know, if I have a Democrat on, I'm going to challenge him. If I have a Republican on, I'm going to challenge him. I'm going to try to facilitate a smart, good conversation that helps people understand. I mean, I think the sad thing for me, Steve, is there are legitimate disagreements in this country. How do we move forward on the economy? What do we do about immigration? On and on and on. I could go on, but the fact of the matter is that people who watch our newscast want information to make smart decisions, and that's my job. If I don't give them both sides of the story, I'm not doing my job.
You don't see it as your job to say, here's what I think, which implies here's what you should think.
That's right. And not only is it not my job, it's wrong for the kind of news that I do. And I'm also, frankly, protecting my integrity because I also work for the NBC News division, and I work for Nightly News, and I work for Rock Center, and I work for Dateline. And, you know, I think also when I go out, it's so interesting to me that people do treat you in a certain way when they know that you're an independent journalist, that you are somebody who is old school in the way I am. And I think that there's a certain level of respect that you get from both sides, and I just try to maintain that.
Chris, as the cable news world has exploded, as new media explodes with it, technology, did you ever think that you'd cover politics to the degree that you do? I mean, every day, all the time, and it's not, forget about election coverage. There's no such thing anymore. It's political coverage all the time.
Yeah, no, I didn't. Absolutely not. And if someone had told me this, I would have told them they were crazy. But I also, famously, back when I was in Albany at the television station, thought the internet was a passing fad. So that'll tell you, you know, nobody's going to hire me to do, you know, forecasting. You know, having said that, I love politics. I've always loved politics.
You like talking about it, covering it, analyzing it, all of it.
I grew up in a family of 12. I'm the youngest. I have 7 brothers. So I grew up in a competitive family. My mother tells a story about one time I was missing from my crib and she heard some yelling in the backyards and my brothers were tossing me like a football. I grew up in that kind of competitive family. To me, there's no more fascinating or consequential competition out there than the political system. And I know, you know, some of my friends, even people who are politically savvy or politically interested, say, how do you do it every day, day in and day out? There's always a new twist. There's always a new story. There's always a new way of messaging. It just, to me, never ceases to fascinate.
You're not bored at all at any of this.
I'm so not bored. I can't believe, I never thought I would say, I wake up at 4:15 in the morning. If I sleep in, I'll wait till 4:15.
You're so lazy.
If I have a crazy night and up to 9:30. And I can't wait to get to work. I never thought of myself as a morning person, but I'm just so interested. Like, I want to be the first person to know what happened overnight in Syria, what happened overnight in Afghanistan. Where's Hillary Clinton? What's going on with the Secretary of State? I want to know, and I want to know first, and I want to have that time to think through, how am I going to present this to my viewers?
You mind if I let the folks know again when they can check you out?
If you
It's
love.
it's PBS. We don't like to plug, but you can catch Chris Jansing every day at on MSNBC, 10 to 11, Monday through Friday. Host of Jansing and Company, anchor over there at MSNBC, and correspondent with NBC Nightly News. It is a pleasure to have you on our set. I look forward to seeing you again on your set.
Yes, it's a pleasure always to have you.
You're terrific.
Thank you so much, Steve.
Great. You come here and you watch the WNET, and you never know who you're going to see one-on-one right after this. Good stuff.
If you would like more information on this program, or if you'd like to express an opinion, email us at info@caucusnj.org. Visit us online at oneonone.org. Or find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Steve Adubato, PhD.
There she is, Gloria Feldt, the author of No Excuses, 9 Ways Women Can Change How We Look at Power. Why do women need to change the way we look at power? Not we, but them, you?
Well, here's why. I'll tell you, I got obsessed with this topic in 2008. I was asked by Elle magazine to write an article about women running for office. Remember that moment when it was supposed to be inevitable that we were going to have our first woman president?
Yes, I heard about it.
Yeah, you remember that, right?
Yes.
Okay. And so I thought this was going to be a puffy little piece about all these great organizations that have been helping women run for office and how they're just racing to do that. What I found blew me away. It was not only that women weren't running for office, even though now women could raise money as well as men, now when women run, they are as likely as men to win, it was that they would walk up to the face of power and step back, and that they had ambivalent feelings about power in general, and for good reason, because it's hard to change a culture while you're living in it, and women have borne the brunt of a lot of negative aspects of power. So when they were faced with conflict and when they were faced with the things you have to deal with when you run for office, they backed away. And I found the same dynamics were true in the workplace and even in personal relationships. So I wanted to look into this phenomenon and figure out what in the heck was going on and how do we change it? How do we fix it?
So let's be specific. Some of the ways women need to change the way they look at power. Name a couple.
Well, if we keep in our mind an outdated definition of power, which has been the way we've been thinking about it through all these years, it's the power over. You know, you think of it sort of
control.
Control. I can make you do something. That implies power is a finite pie, and if I take a slice, there's less for you.
That's right.
Well, the truth is that power is an infinite resource, and the more there is, the more there is. And that if I can get women to switch their thinking from that oppressive power over to an expansive power to, all of a sudden I see faces relax. And they'll say, oh yeah, well, I want that. I want that. I want to be able to do things for my kids, my family, my world. Innovation is the power to. That's where good things come from, is having the power to do something. Power is amorphous. There's going to be power out there in the world. So if you're going to use it ethically, why not you?
You know, you talk about power tools, the 9 power tools. I'm going to be real specific because in this show, one of the things we like to do is offer concrete tools that people can take away.
Excellent.
Give a couple tools right now.
Excellent. I love that. And the reason I wanted to put those power tools in the book is that I'm really tired of all those books that tell women what's wrong with us. And I've been a practical activist all my life. So I wanted to say, and this is what we do about it.
By the way, we should let people know you went from, check this out, I found this hard to believe, you were a teen mom with 3 kids.
That's right.
And then you became the CEO of Planned Parenthood.
Yes. I mean, there's a logic to that if you think about it.
But go ahead.
Yeah, there's a lot of between, but there's a logic to it.
So you learned an awful lot about leadership and power and a lot of things.
And I learned it on the job. I learned it by doing it. Not, you know, it's the old, what I didn't learn at Harvard Business School.
That's right.
I learned on the front lines. And so the power tools. Let me start with the second power tool, which I think may be the single most important one if we can only talk about one. Define your own terms first before someone else defines you.
Give me an example.
We're all going to be defined in this world. So, you know, whoever defines the debate usually wins it. And so it's the same way with us as individuals. I find that women don't have the level of intention that men do in starting out with whatever they want to do in the world. And so if you think about it intentionally, think backwards. Okay, in 5 years, 25 years, 50 years, what is it that I want to be known for? What is it that I want people to think about me? What is it I want on my epitaph? Okay, I want to define my own terms and to just do it even when you go into a meeting. If you know before you go into the meeting, I'm going to say the first words and I'm going to say the last words. And I may say something in between too, but you know, women tend to wait, don't hold up their hands, or they do hold up their hands and don't just talk, whereas men will just jump right into the conversation in a business meeting. You see that all the time. So define your own terms.
So you're saying that if you go into that meeting knowing that you're going to say these things, that's your plan, and execute that plan.
Yes.
And if you don't do that...
If you don't do it, don't complain about what happens in the meeting, because you're likely, you may not like what happens, or you may not like the way people define you.
I have time for one more tool. Go ahead.
All right. Okay, well, I'm going to talk about the most fun one.
Go ahead.
Embrace controversy.
Embrace controversy?
Yeah.
How's that a good thing?
It's so much fun. You know, the natural human tendency is to back away from it. But one of the things I learned from being on the front lines of arguably one of the most controversial organizations in the world, yes, is that controversy is your friend. If an issue is controversial, it means it's really important to people. And so it gives you a platform. It gives you a chance to state your case. It doesn't mean being mean and nasty and aggressive. It means you get a chance to teach. You get a chance to speak your piece when people are listening to you. And you can ride into the wave of that controversy, and you can use its energy to propel you forward.
Don't be afraid of controversy.
No, love it. Embrace it.
I like your attitude. Gloria Feldt, the author of No Excuses, 9 Ways Women Can Change How We Think About Power, Tools for Leading an Unlimited Life. This is good stuff, very practical. Thank you for joining us. Appreciate it.
What a pleasure to be here.
Great to have you. One-on-one will continue right after this. Stay with us.
If you would like more information on this program, or if you'd like to express an opinion, email us at info@caucusnj.org. Visit us online at oneonone.org. Or find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Steve Adubato, PhD.
Now, he wasn't in that clip, but he's in that play. That's Gavin Lee. Plays Bert on Mary Poppins. That's what we're just looking at. How you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm the luckiest actor in the world.
Where'd you get that Jersey accent?
Weirdly enough, I live in Jersey now.
I do too, but we don't sound the same.
No, I haven't lost any of my London accent yet, which is a good thing because, of course, my role is very London, very Cockney. So.
By the way, we should let people know who, I can't imagine people don't know who Bert is in Mary Poppins, but that was the Dick Van Dyke.
Yep, made famous in the movie by Dick Van Dyke. He's the chimney sweep in Mary Poppins. Mary Poppins' best friend, and in the stage show, it's good. I'm kind of the narrator as well.
Yeah.
So I get to break that fourth wall and talk to the audience a lot.
Gavin, do us a favor. Explain to folks the evolution of your role, the evolution of your experience at Mary Poppins up until Broadway. Where'd you play this?
Well, the show originated in London. Well, not in London, actually in Bristol. About 4 hours. We did a tryout 4 hours outside London, and then we opened in London in 2004. I did about two years there. Then they asked me to come to Broadway, which was just a dream come true for an English actor. And then after 2 years on Broadway, they asked me to start the national tour. So I traveled around this fantastic country, getting to do the show. And I came back to Broadway nearly 2 years ago. So I'm in my 8th year of playing Bert the Chimney Sweep.
Tired of it yet?
Some days I'm tired. Matinee days, certainly when we have tour days, sometimes it's a bit tiring. But on the whole, I just love it. It's the best role I've ever played. And I'll be there until they kick me out.
By the way, describe for folks, if you could, Gavin, what the week is like, because I don't know if everyone really understands how many performances we're talking about.
Yeah, well, and also a lot of people think, oh, theatre actor, you just work for 3 hours a night, which some days it is true, I only work 3 hours a night, but we do 8 shows a week, we get Mondays off, we do 2 on a Wednesday, 2 on a Saturday, 1 on a Sunday afternoon, and there's lots of rehearsals in the afternoons. putting understudies in, putting new cast members in, because the cast is changing constantly. And then, of course, if you're a very dedicated actor, you're going to acting class, you're going to singing class, you're going to dancing class, which I'm not doing quite as much as I used to, only because I have a 18-month-old at home and I want to spend my time with her.
Do you really?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, that's the reason me and my wife came off the national tour, and luckily I could come back into the Broadway show is we had a baby.
Oh, congratulations.
So she's from New Jersey. My baby's a New Jerseyan now.
Oh, I love it. We both have little Jersey girls.
Yeah,
at the
yeah.
same time. I'm curious about this. When did you know, well, I don't know when it was, when did you know that you wanted to perform?
My sister started performing. She used to go ballet class, and then she started doing, we call it amateur dramatics in England, but community theatre. And I was that annoying little kid. She'd come home from whatever rehearsals or dance class she'd been on. I was like, what did you do? What did you do? Show me, show me. And I wanted to learn it. And then eventually my mum kind of said to my sister, are there any boys in the class? Because she didn't want me to be the only boy in a, I'm showing my age, in a disco dance class. That's how long ago.
In a disco dance
1980
class.
Is when I
Love
started
it.
dancing. And doing the community theatre. And then I think from maybe 13, 14, I just knew I was going to finish school at 16 and go off to Performing Arts College and hopefully get to do this fantastic hobby that I had as a career. And I've been a really lucky guy, and I've been able to do that.
And was Broadway the ultimate goal?
I think when I first started, the West End, which is London's version of Broadway, was the ultimate goal. Being English, I never thought I could come to work here in America, and by luck, the Disney Corporation wanted me to come, and also by luck, I got married to an American lady in London, so all that green card issue, that seemed to work out okay, and I got to come here to Broadway.
Your wife is an actress.
She is, and she is actually now in the Broadway cast as well.
Give her, Emily?
Emily Harvey Lee, yeah.
Give her a plug. What kind of work does she do?
She's fantastic. We met in London.
Of course she's fantastic.
She's fantastic. She's my wife. She's the wife. She's the mother of my child.
Of course.
She was in Phantom of the Opera in London, and I kind of dragged her away from that so that I could come and do Poppins here. And she joined the national tour, and about a year ago now, they asked her to join the Broadway show, and she has a great little part. She understudies 3 of the main principals, so she's for a lot more rehearsals than I am, so I can babysit.
I'm curious about something. Because you did the national tour, you got to see more of the United States than most folks
Brits do. Certainly than most Brits do.
Than most Americans do.
Yeah, yeah.
Give me your impression, your sense of Americans. Why does that elicit a laugh?
Well, I used to get asked this question when I came to Broadway, on what the audiences like from London and to Broadway. And it wasn't until I then went on a national tour, I realised that the Broadway audience was still a very international audience. They weren't all Americans. Maybe a third of them are Americans, or then tourists from all over the world. So going to do the national tour, I really got to go to cities that don't have tourists in them. For instance, Minneapolis or Dallas and Houston, or we did Los Angeles and Chicago and Washington, D.C., fantastic cities, which of course probably do have tourists. But the audiences are just so different in different cities. I mean, some cities, they just get totally different parts of the show. It amazes you.
They get?
They get, as in, you can feel that some cities, I can't even remember which is which now, but some cities will laugh at all the slapstick stuff, all the comedy, you know, almost the Laurel and Hardy stuff.
Right.
And then other cities will just be perhaps more sophisticated and get those jokes that you're like, oh, no one's laughed at that for about 3 months. And so it's very weird. And because on a national tour, you go from one end of the city and the next 2 days later you're performing, like we had, I think we were Denver one day, and 2 days later we were in Cincinnati, and down to Florida the next week. So really different parts of the city, of the country, and totally different cities.
That's fascinating.
Yeah, it was great. Best year and a half of my wife's life. We just had the best time on tour.
So since you've been playing Bert for how many years?
Nearly 8 years.
Do you ever say to yourself, the typecast thing, being typecast?
I think you get to a certain age as an actor, or I have, where I've realised instead of going, oh, I want to play that part that Tom Cruise played. I want to play that part that Denzel Washington played. I mean, you have to eventually go, wait a minute, I'm not going to get cast in certain roles. I'm never going to play Hamlet. I'm never going to get to do really dramatic roles, because that's just not me. That's not what I have grown to be, I think, good at. So I'm very happy to be put in that box of, I'm kind of the song and dance man. Hopefully I make people laugh on stage, and if I can carry on getting those sort of either Gene Kelly type roles, Fred Astaire type roles, or even the Jim Carrey type roles would be great. You know, they're the kind of roles I would love to get more of down the road, but I'm under no illusion that I'm such a great actor that I can play anything.
I'm curious about something in the minute we have left. Keeping the energy level up. I heard Nathan Lane say one time, I guess he was doing the producers with Matthew Broderick, and they said, how do you keep the energy level up with the 8 shows? And he said, basically, I remind myself that someone who is coming to that Wednesday matinee or the Saturday matinee, that's the only time they're coming to see me.
Yep.
Do you do that with mental gymnastics?
I always, like, whenever someone says, how do you keep the energy up? And you go, I have to. It's my job. I've been given this fantastic privilege. Because so many people wanted this role, and I was the lucky guy that got it. And I remember how completely excited I was on the opening night in London and on Broadway. So why shouldn't I be given that same performance? Let
me just plug. I got to get out of here. That's what I'm going to plug. Gavin Lee, Bert, and Mary Poppins. I'm so sorry for cutting you off, but he doesn't mind if I plug.
That's
terrific.
Great to meet you.
This special edition of One-on-One with Steve Adubato is brought to you from the Tisch WNET studios at Lincoln Center. Funding has been provided by Caldwell College, New Jersey Manufacturers Insurance Group, auto insurance, homeowners insurance, and banking under the principle of stewardship. QualCare Inc., a local managed care company covering 750,000 New Jersey residents. And by Verizon Communications. Promotional support provided by The Record, North Jersey's trusted source, and NorthJersey.com. Transportation provided by Airbrook Limousine, serving the metropolitan New York, New Jersey area. One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been produced in partnership with St. Joseph's Healthcare System.
I'm Steve Adubato. Join me for the next edition of Caucus New Jersey, Taxes, Healthcare, Education, and the Economy. I'll ask the questions that you want answered.
Airing on NJTV, 13, and WHYY. Check your local listings.